I mean, you gotta respect Ray for that. I mean, I think that's what for coming out with. You gotta respect Ray for sticking with his roots, you know, and doing it the way he was doing it on the first one, especially because it's called Cuban Linx 2. This isn't a Mobilarity or Lex Diamond story or this is Cuban Linx 2. So if he had come back with a record called Cuban Linx 2 that felt different and felt contrived, it would have been disappointing to all the people who loved Cuban Linx. So I mean, really, I give him all the credit in the world. I think he's one of the gods, but he had to do it that way. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you can't come out with Cuban Linx at all.
See, I disagree. I feel that he should have actually went to Cuba, did the album, and had like a kind of like a Afro-Cuban jazz vibe to it.
Latin theme, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And had like maybe call it Only Built for Cuban Beaches. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna stop you there. I don't think it's a good idea, man. We disagree. Agree to disagree. Agree to disagree.
If you're gonna call it Cuban, Pitbull should have been on there. On the serious side though, I mean, you know, we grew up on artists like that, especially Wu-Tang and Raekwon, and those albums meant so much to us growing up, and you always wish that your favorite artist do what Ray does, which is stick to the formula that we love, that worked, that maybe he's not going to be in the top 100 Billboard charts, you know, like with all the pop stars, but that's okay. That's not what it's for. And that's not for everybody. There's still fans that love this music and want that type of music. And for him to do exactly the same. I mean, it's not exactly the same. He did grow as an artist.
Right, absolutely.
There's other artists on there, of course.
And production's different, too. Right. I mean, it's only risen to the few.
But it's still, if it gives you that feeling, man, it's dope that somebody can still do that. This so many years later, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, when the first Cuban Linx came out, I was locked up. That's when I was. Yeah. That's when I was in
boarding school, right?
No, Attica.
Oh.
No, a boarding school called Attica.
Okay.
Attica School for Boys in suburban Maryland. No, I mean, Ray's been around since we were growing up on hip hop, and now he's coming out with the second one, and we're all grown ups. And this album, I think this album is really important for his legacy, actually, because the first one had a lot of features on it. It was a Wu-Tang collaborative album in a series of great albums. So while it was amazing on its own, it was in this series of a bigger body of work that didn't necessarily isolate Raekwon. It just isolated Cuban Linx as an album. But for him to come back now and add to that 14 years later, when the only other Wu member who's still putting out solo albums really that feels that way is Ghost, I think that's really important for Ray's legacy. Those are like the two guys who are really, you know, Met still does his thing, but it's not the same Wu feeling necessarily. So I think it really does a lot for Ray's legacy that all this time later he comes back with an album that's actually a proper sequel. I think that's important for what his legacy is in hip hop.
Yeah, like the first one, the first Cuban Linx is such a classic that, you know, you don't even want to touch it. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to mess with it and do anything that could dilute the first one, which is probably impossible. But, you know, to come with like you said, like a sequel, where sometimes people look at sequels as not as good, or they messed up the first one or whatever. This is actually a sequel that lives up to its namesake. You know what I mean?
It's like Wayne's World 2 wasn't Wayne's World 1.
Right.
But it was still hot.
It was still good.
You know what I mean?
Rambo First Blood.
Right. Was that the first one?
Rambo Part 2.
Wasn't Rambo First Blood.
Right, but it was still good.
But it was still good, man.
Now, hold up. The Godfather 2 is better than the original.
That's what they say.
Is this better?
It's good, man.
Is
Cuban
it
Linx
better?
2 is good.
Is it better?
I was in a happier place when the first one came. I was a kid. I
Right.
had just had sex for the first time.
Right.
A year earlier. I don't want to lose credit.
Right.
Listen, when I lost my virginity, I was listening to Ice Water.
Oh.
I said that. Oh. That was my first explosion.
Yo, man, my name is Cipha Sounds. What's your name?
Oh, hey, Peter Rosenberg.
Listen, this is the next 48 hours with Raekwon, man, and we're happy to be a part of this. We're happy that Raekwon made this official, came to the right people that could understand what he's going through.
You talking about us?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Next 48 hours is going to be crazy, and I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be back in the next 48 hours again and again at the party at Santos, and then I have another party with him on Thursday. So it's really more like the next 48 hours with Rosenberg. Featuring Raekwon.
Right.
Like how Raekwon featured Ghost on the first album, it's like Raekwon featuring Rosenberg, you know what I'm saying?
What you want to do is be careful in the next 48 hours not to get punched in the face.
Duly noted.
Next 48 hours with Raekwon.